So this is part 2 of MrReedMaths Year 9 homework week 12 and I've already done one video that shows the answers to questions 1 to 3. So what we need to do now is move on to question 4 and have a look at how to do these questions. Now the most important thing about these questions here is that you've been taught in class to use decimals, and I have said show your method here, full method, no calculator. Now despite me writing that there, probably 10 people in the group are just typing it into a calculator and pressing equals. That's no challenge at all, and it's certainly not what I'm trying to get you to do at home. So in an exam you're probably going to find you score 0 unless you learn to do this. So you're supposed to use fractions. So 0.6 is 6/10 multiplied by 0.7, which is 7/10. Multiply your tops together, multiply your bottoms together. Now that's actually the answer to the question, but if you were going to be clever you could convert it back into decimals. 42 divided by 100 is 0.42. Let's have a look at this next question. Same technique, 12/10 times 19/10. And actually I'm not going to go straight to my answer here. I'm just going to show that you can times your tops together and you can multiply the bottoms together. Now it's simply a matter of trying to work out what 12 times 19 is. Now using column method or any method you want, you should get 228 there. It's up to you to do that bit. Divided by 100. So the answer is 2.28. And remember, I have just told you the answer to this question is 228, but it is up to you to work that out. Let's have a look at question C. I'll just bring the answer down here. That's 3/10 divided by 3/100. That's that sorted. Now keep, change, flip is the way we've been taught to divide fractions in this school. Multiply your tops together, 300, multiply your bottoms together, 30. And it's a really simple process now. How many 30s make 300? The answer's 10. That's the answer to that question. Question D. 15.2 divided by 0.2. Well, 15.2 is 152/10. And 0.2 is 2/10. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. Now I'm going to do something quite clever. I'm going to do something called cross-simplifying. There is a 10 on the bottom left. There's one of them there. And there's a 10 on the top right. There's one of them there. So I can now make this question into 152 times 1 on the top and 1 times 2 on the bottom. And that means 152 divided by 2, which is 76. And that's the answer to the question. Now the last question, there are several ways of doing this. Some of you tackled it using fractions, as it's already a fraction, and you turn them into improper fractions and multiply them and so on. You got the answer 5.1 or 5 1/10. That is right. What I was going to show you is how you could tackle it in the same way as the questions above using decimals. So 1.5 is the first one. That's 1.5 there. So that's this one here. That's 1.5. And this one here, if you think about it, 2/5 is 0.4, so it's 3.4. Now you might think to yourself, why have I turned it into decimals when I'm going to turn it back into fractions? Well, it'll help me turn it into easy fractions, 15/10 and 34/10. So I've reduced this question to 15 times 34 on the top, and 10 times 10 is 100 on the bottom. Now if you do the same thing as we talked about earlier, I mentioned earlier multiplying this to make 228. Multiply this, you get 510. So actually you end up with 510 divided by 100, which is actually 5.1. So this is going to seem like a strange thing to do, but I've actually converted fractions into decimals and then turned them into nice, easy fractions that I can work with like this. The important thing being that the denominator here is 10. And that makes this calculation at the end nice and simple. So that's how you do question 4. Let's move along then. Let's look at question 5. Now it does say factorise fully. What that means is if I do this, I'm going to make a mistake now. I'm going to just use 2 outside. That would be 10x. And this is wrong, deliberately. Now, the reason I know this is wrong is there's an x here and here, so that could be on the outside. And also 10 and 6 both divide by 2. So I haven't fully factorised it. I've missed this point here. I've just partially factorised. So what I need to do instead is think about the biggest thing I can find that's going to go outside of that bracket. I'll tell you what it is. 4 divides into 20 and 12, so 4 is going outside, and also x can go outside as well. Now that leaves 5 inside on the front there, and it also leaves 3y there, and it is up to you to think about the fact that if I multiply this bit, I get that bit there. And if I do 4x times 3y, I get that bit there. So it definitely works. Let's move on to question B. X goes on the outside, leaving x plus 5. Think about how you could expand that back out and realise that's true. 6 is the biggest thing that works on this question. You've always got to put the biggest thing on the outside, and then on this last one, they both divide by 7, give me 2x minus 3y. So that's how you fully factorise there. And some of you have got this as a target. I've written something like T3 on your sheet. And it's up to you to realise that means that this is a target for you and you need to do something about it. So that might be a good thing to copy down onto that correction sheet that we're working on. Right, let's have a look at question 6. We're nearly finished. Question 6, factorise into two brackets, two numbers that multiply to make 20 and to make 9, a 4 and 5. And they go like that. Now we talked about this in class and you wrote this down maybe a month or so ago. We talked about the fact that if there's a minus sign here and a plus here, this plus here means the signs have to be the same on whatever you pick. And so I'm going to pick the numbers minus 5 and minus 4. I'll talk to you about that again now. This is the reason. The plus sign here means the sign in these brackets must match. So for example, there's a plus sign on the first question, so the signs both match, they're both a plus. There's a plus sign here, and they both match, they're both a minus. So you might think to yourself, well, why did I decide to use a minus on this question? It's because there's a minus there. So if you've got a plus here and a plus there, it's both pluses. If you have a plus on the end but a minus in the middle, they're both minuses. Now that's the only time you're going to have signs the same. When there's a minus on the end like this, your signs need to not be the same. So I'm going to have a plus and a minus. Plus something and minus something. Let's just put the equal signs in. Right. On question C, they've got to add up to make minus 1. So the only way I can think of that is 5 and 4. And the other one is the other way around. It's going to be x minus 4 and x plus 5. And that's because the numbers you choose have to add to make positive 1. In that case there. Right, so that's that. Now the last little bit of this homework is the opposite of that, and that's expanding double brackets. And let's see it. Some of you were so good at this in class, let's say 6 weeks ago, something like that. And since then, it's just gone completely, and you're not looking back in your book to help yourself. So let's see how to do it. First, x squared, multiplying, outers, 3x, inners, 2x, and then the last two, 6. Remember, I'm multiplying. Collect your middle terms together. So the x squared stays the same. If we collect the middle ones together, we've got 5x, and then this little 6 on the end, like that. Using exactly the same technique, I'm going to multiply first x squared, outers, 10x, inners, as in there, 7x, lasts, 7 times 10 is 70. Collect your middle ones together, you've got 17x in the middle, and then 70. So an equal sign there. Same technique on all the questions, x squared plus 4x minus 2x minus 8. Let me just tidy that up so it looks like an 8. Collect your middle terms. 4 minus 2 is 2, so 2x. On this next one, first as in these two, x squared, outers, minus x, inners, plus 5x, last, minus 5, and multiplying each time there. Collect your middle ones together. Minus x plus 5 is plus 4x, and then minus 5 on the end. Same technique. This one will be x squared minus 3x plus 2, and then this last one, if I write it out in full, when you square something, it means to times it by itself like that. So you end up with a question just like A, B, C, D, E, and you do first, outer, inner, last, and you get x squared minus 14x plus 49. And the reason it's plus at the end is because minus times a minus makes a plus. That's a little squared sign there on the x. That's it. Now the main target for you as a group is to look back in your book. I've mentioned it several times now. Look in your maths book. Try and find questions that look like these, or any of the questions we've done in this homework, and look at how you did it in class. Look at the classwork that you've got right. Many of you have just got 10, 15, 20 ticks in your book, 20 questions right. Then it comes to homework and it all goes wrong. So it's about going back and being independent and trying to help yourself. Right, so I want to see plenty of purple pen on your correction sheet, and the deadline is Tuesday.